Are you like many Americans who are probably not properly protecting their credit? Welcome to Cover Your Assets, your podcast for navigating the financial side of divorce. I'm Josephti Cruz, and I am here with my co-host, Jade Eagles.
Life doesn't always deal you the best hand, but we're here to help you CYA in every way, because when it comes to your assets, it's all about playing your cards right.
Hey, Jade.
Hey, Joe. How are you?
I'm great. How's your energy level?
It was a long, busy weekend.
Well, let's elevate your energy by talking about protecting your credit during divorce.
Yes.
What could be more?
I'm feeling the level coming up already. So, Joe, it's an important topic there. So let's kind of get into it. So, are you worried that your partner, or I guess, or soon to be ex, is maybe kind of screwing up your credit during your divorce?
Are you paranoid about it, or maybe you have a relevant concern, right?
Yeah.
Are you like many Americans or Australians, I don't want to leave you out, who are probably not properly protecting their credit at this point?
Well, if so, keep on listening, because on this week's episode, we're going to kind of delve a little bit more deeper into protecting your credit during divorce, and really, I guess, in general, you really should be.
Yes. So we're going to talk about how to monitor and safeguard your credit during divorce proceedings, and really just creating that good ongoing habit beyond that.
Yep,
right?
For sure. We're also going to, I guess we spoke about this a little bit beforehand, but we're also going to kind of touch back on and dig in a little bit deeper about joint accounts and, credit responsibilities.
And we're going to talk about steps to either build, rebuild, and or preserve your credit throughout the divorce process. And again, building those good habits to take it beyond divorce.
Yeah, for sure. If you've been the non-CFO spouse, with the term we've used beforehand, pay attention. Okay, so, if you haven't paid attention beforehand, now's the time to start paying attention.
Pay attention to your credit specifically, right? Because now you are going to be the CFO.
Add that to the list.
You're going to be the solo CFO.
Yeah.
Right? So credit is so important, right? To be able to live your life financially, right?
Yeah.
So credit helps or deters you from buying a house, even leasing an apartment.
Yeah,
right?
It's at the core of a lot of things to make transactions and to grow financially here in the US.
Right, to qualify for a loan, qualify for a credit card, buy a car, lease a car.
Yeah.
Just about everything relies on your credit and your credit score. So it's so vital to pay attention and make sure that that score is nice and healthy. And look, if you never had to pay attention before, fine, great. But now you're going to.
Listen on up.
Yes. And you know why? You know why you're going to pay attention now?
Well, I think there was a recent survey done, from my memory. That,
526 divorcees.
I know, where do they find them? By a credit counseling company, debt.com.
Yes.
Over 4
in
in
10.
Yeah, over 4. Over 4 in 10 said that they lost at least 50 points on their credit score since divorcing. Only 14% reported seeing their scores go up afterwards.
Yes.
So definitely some, things to pull out from that there and think about.
Yes. So for those that don't know, your credit is measured by a score. I believe the max is 900.
Yeah, I don't know. Has it gone up over time? I feel like it keeps on getting better.
I know. At one point, I think it was 800 and now it's 9.
Because I have some clients and they're like, they're aiming for perfection across everything, including their credit score. And if it goes down 5 points, they're like, God damn it.
Yes. You're in the middle of divorce. You're thinking about divorce. Establish your credit baseline. Where are you right now? Right? So if you didn't know, annualcreditreport.com is the one government-approved website to get a free credit report from all 3 major credit bureaus. That's Experian, TransUnion, and...
Trans-Pacific?
Equifax. That
That's
sounds like a ship.
That's the train
All
company.
right, anyway. All right, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax.
I did tell you I was having a slow start today.
Yes. So annualcreditreport.com. You're technically entitled to one free credit report from all 3 bureaus. No payments, no nothing. Only through that website, guaranteed.
Yeah.
But you looked up something.
I know I did. Doing some due diligence before this. So I guess last year, so the FTC they had this temporary order due to COVID where all the agencies were kind enough to allow like weekly checks for your credit. So now that's got extended, and now it's permanent.
Yes.
So according to the FTC and, the big credit bureaus, you can actually do it on a weekly basis now.
And some of you with credit cards might see that you get free access to your credit whenever you want through your credit card website.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Or bank. Yeah.
Or bank.
Bank/credit.
I'm just not sure that everyone does that, but I know that many have it.
Yeah.
So that's another way to do it for free. No need to pay for this stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
But,
and why is it important to establish that baseline?
Damn it. You beat me to it. I was going to ask you to.
Oh, okay. You can ask me back.
I think, what about you? It's important to establish the base because you want to, what's going to be in this credit report is basically any time that you or someone has run your credit and run your social to get whether it be a loan or something like that.
Credit card.
And hopefully as you're going through that, all those transactions are going to be yours. All those loan attempts are going to be yours. But what unfortunately can happen is there might be some unfamiliar or unusual activity there or credit, pools, which might not be yours.
Well, you want to look at your credit score where it is now and assess, right? Does it seem fair? Why is it low?
Yeah.
Or why is it high, right? And look at all that list of credit. So every bit of debt that is under your name, whether you know it or not, is going to show up on that credit report. So you want to see what's joint, what could be joint with your spouse, what you have by yourself. You could have a bunch of little store credit cards that you opened up when you were 19 that you forgot about. You could have things that were delinquent that you didn't know were delinquent. Yep. You need to see where you stand as you're going into this divorce, right? And bringing on to the next little bullet point, you want to see what debts you share with your spouse, right? Which accounts.
Yeah, for sure. And, when you're in there, so, you can also log on to each of the credit bureaus too. And one thing that you should be doing that goes along with what we're talking about is also, if you haven't already,
lock it down.
Freezing your credit.
Yes.
You can always unfreeze it, I think they say is the term.
Well, what does it mean to freeze it?
So freezing your credit is you shouldn't just be doing this if you're going through a divorce. You should be doing it. I was talking to an ex-client of mine who runs a cybersecurity firm, Stan, focused more on the LA region there. And he kind of runs these little workshops where he'll, interacting with the clients and, the general public. And that's one of the first questions that he asks. How many of you have got your credit frozen with 4 agencies? And everyone's like, ooh, 4 agencies? So there is actually 4 agencies, and I'm going to get to your answer. But it's important to freeze that so that either you or someone else can't try and apply for a credit in your name.
Right.
Yeah. And the function of unfreezing it is if you do want to apply for a credit card or a loan, you can temporarily unfreeze it for a day, 2 days, whatever it's going to be.
You literally just log into the credit agency and it's a little toggle switch. It's so easy. So it's not hard, but it's hard for people to apply for credit in your name if you freeze your credit. So this is a good way to keep your credit secure.
Yeah.
Right? Your credit reputation.
And maybe like a little personal story or a client story at this point in time that I can talk about is I had a client. She wasn't going through a divorce. However, someone close to her was able to relative was able to get her credentials and her information and applied for, a loan under her name
and against her house
into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And this has been going on for probably a decade.
And she didn't know because she's a non-CFO type of person.
And the first time that she becomes aware of it is a piece of mail that they happen to open up to find out that the bank is going to start taking, steps to foreclose on her house.
Yeah. So that was the first time she knew that there were these loans in her name that she did not apply for.
That was opened at some random branch on the other side of town, which she would never go to.
Right. And had she frozen her credit, it probably wouldn't have happened.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. Or she would have been notified. So usually if I apply for a credit card and all of my credit bureau things are frozen. So when I apply for a credit card and I forget to unfreeze it, the credit card company notifies me by text, email, mail, like, hey, if you want to be approved for this, you got to unfreeze it. And, if I wasn't the one to have applied for it, then I would know that something's going on.
True. Yeah.
Right. So we're bringing this up right now. Yes, you want to guard against cyber criminals. And if there's a bit of a trust issue with your spouse, as there can sometimes be, right? If you want to make sure that your spouse cannot apply for credit in your name, freeze your credit.
Yeah, because by going through those, but basically you're trying to control someone else ruining your credit for you. So
or making you have to pay for it, right? Yeah. So if it's your spouse opening it for you and you're still married and they take it to a fun place and spend $10,000, it might still be on you to pay.
Definitely run your credit report, have a look at all those line items there. Make sure you freeze it with the different credit agencies. I think something to point out on here is they're always going to try and upcharge you.
Yes.
But
yes.
The name in the free credit report, a freeze should be free. It's a law that they have to offer a freeze, but they're going to try and upsell you for various different monitoring things. Unless you really want it, you don't have to do it to get that freeze in place.
Every time I log into Experian, it automatically puts me on the page where it's like, just click this button to go into the subscription monitoring. And then there's a tiny button underneath that says, no, just get me to the credit freeze.
Yeah.
So find the tiny button and don't pay.
Yeah.
Also with the credit report, you don't just do it once, you do it ongoing, right? So you want to keep monitoring it for changes and to make sure that there's nothing weird on there.
What's a good rule of thumb on that? Like I've heard some people who check it like every single month for, just making sure that everything's looking good there.
Well, I know I don't proactively check it, but since I am lucky enough to have one or two credit card companies, yes, I have it frozen, but I do have a couple credit card companies that offer the credit score for free.
Yeah, you kind of get that little wheel at the bottom of your page.
You have the wheel anytime you log in to see your credit cards, and you can sign up for just notifications for any changes. So anytime there's any change in my score or someone's looked into my credit or anything, I get an email. So sign up for those. They're free.
Can I also add something? So once you're setting up these accounts and trying to reclaim control, okay? Make sure you have a hard password.
Oh my God.
Don't have a password. You were talking to a girlfriend over the weekend where it appeared maybe that their ex was able to access all their accounts and has been reading all their correspondence.
Yes. So one of my best friends went through a not amicable divorce and continues to have a not amicable relationship. And I think we realized over the past few days that he must have hacked into her messaging applications just because of something that happened. And I was like, you know what? Did you change your passwords? And she was like, oh yeah, of course I did. I was like, I bet it's like Star Wars 1 or, your dog's name, Love. And she starts laughing because she said, yeah, probably it is. I was like, so if I can guess it and I'm not your ex-spouse that was with you for 20 years, what do you think? And she's like, oh, right. Okay. So please change your passwords and make it something that your spouse cannot guess.
Yeah. And look, some people say maybe as sort of a phrase, it shouldn't be any family members, kids, pets,
birth dates, like address.
Like I use a password sort of generators thing where it creates things with all special characters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Look at those. They're even free. So,
or you can think of a simple sentence and take the first letter of each word in the sentence and then add some numbers in there.
Yeah.
Right. So just don't make it, my dog's name's Ollie. Ollie, love you.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Okay. Because it's easy to guess.
Yeah.
Easy to guess.
Sorry, I just wanted to mention that one there.
Thank you. All right. So other ways to protect your credit score. Well, this, I still have to mention it, but pay your bills on time. Jade. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Pay your bills, people. So even if you think, oh, well, my spouse incurred that debt. F him. I don't want to pay it. Well, you know what? If that debt is showing on your credit report, someone's got to pay it. And if your ex-spouse isn't going to pay it, you're going to need to pay it, even if it's a minimum.
Affect both of yours.
Yeah. So
if they're vindictive or there's anger, maybe they don't care if they ruin theirs, because in that moment of anger, they're happy to destroy theirs to destroy yours.
Exactly. So remember about separating those emotions from logic and sound decision making during the divorce. So logically, you need to protect your credit. And even if it means that you have to pay a bill that you feel like isn't yours to protect your credit, you got to do it.
Yeah.
You got to do it.
So, and part of that, is understanding, what accounts are in your name, what accounts are in joint names, so that you can start trying to chip away at this. So what's joint debt? Like, is it the mortgage? Hopefully you're having a conversation if you're working with a professional, of how to resolve that. Is it just the house is going to be sold, the mortgage paid off? Because it's some insurance or some mortgage companies allow you to remove a person's name, but there's the things that you got to look at there. But you've also got to look at the sort of ownership of the, like a checking account or a credit card, correct? So you might be a co-owner where you both equally have responsibility. You might be the primary. It might be an authorized user, correct?
It could be an employee if it's a business card, employee card. So if you're that primary owner, let's call it credit cards, right? So if you're the primary owner of the credit card, you need to kick your spouse to the curb in terms of that credit card. Take them off. Take them off immediately so that they can't spend any more on your credit line.
Yep.
Right. And how are you going to find that out? You're going to find that out by looking at your credit report to see who you're sharing with. And also, you know what? If you just have no idea, look through each of your credit cards and call. Right. And make sure.
If you're on it and if you identify yourself with a credit card company, they're going to be able to talk to you. Yeah?
Right. Yeah. So if you are not the primary owner of the credit card, let's say you're on your spouse's credit card, stop using it. Yeah. Just be
and take steps on identifying a card that's either just in your name. And if you don't have one, work on applying for a credit card of your own.
Right.
Okay.
And just be impeccable. Right. So just because your spouse may want to try to use your credit doesn't mean you're going to try to use theirs. Right. So stop using their credit cards. Hopefully they'll stop using yours, but make sure that they can't use yours by removing their names immediately. Which brings us to, if you have, let's say, again, you're the non-CFO spouse or whatever, and maybe you don't have your own credit history, or maybe you have bad credit history because maybe you weren't the bill payer and you didn't realize that your spouse wasn't paying the bills and ruined your credit, or even if you have good credit right now, you got to preserve it. You got to rebuild it because you are going to be that CFO of your household, right? So how to do that?
So there's definitely steps that you can take to help build a credit. So personal story, when I first moved from here to the US from Australia, I had zero credit. So I had to get, I think it's called a secure credit card, where I have to cough up amount of money, like in cash. So I give them cash.
You prepay the credit card.
Prepay credit card. Yeah, that's right. So and they're wanting to see by doing that, because they don't know about my credit history.
They don't trust you. There's no history.
So they want to see, I guess, repeatable processes that I'm paying my debts on time. So I'm paying it on there. I think I only put down $300 when I first came here. Because I'm against this whole theory. This is wrong.
Right. So they just want to see if you can make regular payments.
And then over time, if you're making those regular payments, they'll increase it to you. And then ultimately you get to the point where you're starting to build credit, and then you can actually apply for a normal credit card, and you can get your
You don't have to prepay.
Yeah, you don't have to prepay. Get that money back.
So you go from a secured credit card to a regular unsecured credit card. Yeah. But it takes time. Another way is if, let's say you're going back to college or you're going to grad school, credit card companies love students. I don't know why. Maybe they've done some research. Students are just more trustworthy or something. credit card companies are all over college campuses. So you can apply for credit cards there and just make sure, be responsible, right?
I was going to say, yeah,
be discriminating. Be discriminating in terms of the credit cards that you apply for and just get what you need, right? Also, I love NerdWallet and their recommendations. So if you want to Google, credit cards for no credit or credit cards for bad credit, building credit, and then put NerdWallet, they have great lists of credit cards for, each type of person in their situation. Yeah. So, all right. So
where did that time go?
All right, Jade, divorce this or that.
All right.
I got one.
I think I got one too. So I'm going to make it a bit more of a physical activity one for you.
Yeah.
So Jo's got her Peloton bike and stuff like that, and she's got a weight set up there in her room. So it's either spin training or strength training for you.
I know strength training is probably better if I had to choose one, right? And I think it's good for you in the long term and it builds muscle, but I just like spin more because maybe I can sit down if I want to, and then I could just listen to some hip hop and bounce around on my bike. So I'm going to have to divorce strength and have to figure it out, or divorce those weights. Maybe I can use canned food or something instead.
I think you like to listen to webinars and stuff like that.
I do like to listen to continuing education. Woo!
Probably a bit harder to do.
And webinars. Strength. Yes. I listen to it on the bike while I'm pedaling and sweating. Yes, that's true. All right. This is hard. Okay. Think of, I'm going to go geographic, home country. Mm-hmm. If you had to divorce and never step into this city or that city ever again. Okay. Just the city, not the suburbs. Melbourne or Sydney? Which one? Can't.
Melbourne.
Oh, wow. Why? I heard Melbourne has really good food.
It does, but it's a city that I'm not as familiar with. Even though I grew up nearby to Melbourne, I was a kid, so we spent most of our time, I guess, to the west of Melbourne along the coast. So whereas I grew up as an adult in Sydney, so I guess I've got deeper roots there. And look, it's a more pretty city.
Which is?
Sydney.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's on the harbour. The water's a little bit warmer.
So never the Australian Open. Never going there then.
Well, I guess not. Fly down there.
That's Melbourne.
Oh, I never to go again? TV. No. I'll watch it on TV.
Okay, fine. All right. So this episode, what did we cover? We covered strategies for monitoring and safeguarding your credit.
Mm-hmm. We also looked at, addressing, even though we looked at it before, and addressing joint accounts and credit responsibilities, as well as steps for rebuilding,
preserving your credit.
Sounds like a slogan for some government
commercial
plan or something like that.
Yes.
Build, rebuild.
Yes.
So thanks for joining us. We'll be back in a couple of weeks.
This is Josephti and Jade. We'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Cover Your Assets with your hosts, Josephti Cruz and Jade Eagles. Jade and Joe are advisors of the Wealth Garden FS, an SEC registered investment advisor. The information is general and educational in nature and should not be considered financial, tax, or legal advice. It is not intended to serve as a substitute for personalized advice or as a recommendation or solicitation of any particular security, strategy, or investment product. Please consult with a qualified professional about your individual situation.
Advisory services are only offered to clients or prospective clients where the Wealth Garden Financial Services and its representatives are properly licensed or exempt from licensure. No advice may be rendered by the Wealth Garden Financial Services unless a client service agreement is in place.